Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of This Is Our Life. Da, 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 da. The reason I'm holding my hand up is because it's hurting, it's aching. I can't tell, without...
Your left wrist again?
Yeah. It's not like it was yesterday. This is just like a...
Dull leg?
Yeah. It, won't go away, won't stop. And my wife is getting an ear infection. Neither one of us need this. Anyway, so I was about to say I'm baking bread. I am, but I am not baking bread because it's not baking yet.
It's not ready yet.
Yeah, it's rising right now. And this is not my traditional pan de horno. This is just white, like loaf bread, sandwich bread.
But you put wheat germ in it, didn't you?
Yeah, I put probably over a cup of wheat germ and I think maybe 2 cups of whole wheat flour, and the rest is white flour. I'll share the recipe with you. But
Let's just hope it doesn't get heavy on us.
yeah.
Sometimes they do that.
I used to have the worst time with bread. There was a time when I was living on Gardena in the apartment that I lived in for 6 years. It has to be a pretty good place if you live there for 6 years. And it was for most of the time I lived there. Anyway, up to that point, that's when I stopped baking bread for years, because when I would try it, the crust would be hard as a rock.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and inside, even though the bread was edible, it was full of holes and like air pockets. And
were you baking bricks?
That's what it seemed like. So I got to the point where I'm like, I'm just wasting my money, and I'm wasting, yeast is not cheap. And I was wasting money doing that because I basically, there was very little there that was edible, and my cats wouldn't eat it. So
Cats.
Yeah.
Cats knew better.
Yeah. So
we don't want a bellyache.
Yeah, so I just gave up. I tried and tried, but it's just, you get to a point where you're just like,
forget it.
Yeah. And then I found a recipe for pan de horno, which is a Spanish bread, which is very similar to what we have in the kitchen right now, but not as time consuming. That basically you have to let it rise, punch it down, knead it, let it rise, punch it down, knead it, let it rise, over and over again. It's just time consuming. It's not difficult to make. It's just a time.
Yeah, it just takes all day.
Yeah. But this bread is the recipe is very similar, and there is, on another window on here, like I can see a whole lot, an egg salad recipe. Because what I was asking for in all recipes was a bread recipe calling for just like 1 or 2 or 3 eggs. Not like a dozen. Like there was one recipe I made that called for like a dozen eggs.
I remember you egg bread, I think it was.
Yeah. And it was good. I liked it, but
it would be okay if we had a hen house.
Yeah, because eggs aren't the cheapest thing in the world, and we go shopping once or twice a month, and
except the week after Easter, they're like 99 cents a dozen.
Yeah.
I think they're overloaded and they're trying to give them away before they.
So if we had the eggs, it would be great to make a bread using a dozen eggs.
I wish we had a hen house full of chickens.
Yeah, me too. And anyway, so drank the last of this. I like it. It's, can you see where, I think it says cucumber drink on it, I think. We got this at the King Community Kitchen. They gave us like
Or gave us a case.
yeah. So, but I think it's gone now.
Yeah.
But that would have been good for when the blank hits the fan, because you would have gotten some nutrition out of it. But yeah, I'm pretty worried about it hitting the fan really soon too. A lot of scary things going on right now, and we're not ready.
Well,
we're as ready
we're not
as
millionaires either.
yeah. I mean, if we had the money, we would be ready, but we don't have the money. You know, and another thing is I had to open that bag of flour, which was supposed to be for when it hits the fan, if it does, which would be nice if it doesn't, but, you know, so...
We can always buy smaller bags, though.
Yeah.
Which might be better when the...
Easier to carry.
Yeah, when it falls apart.
Yeah. I need to find the recipe for, Indian fry bread, because that's good. I used to make it, just, you know, it doesn't have yeast in it. It has like
pretty easy to make too.
Yeah, and you just spread some refried beans on it. Kind of make it like a gordita, somewhat like a gordita. I mean, you use a different flour, but anyway.
Some of the powwows, and they make it a lot there.
Oh, so you've had it.
I've been to a couple of the powwows. I've seen them make it, but I don't think I ate it. Oh.
Well, because in that cookbook that we have on how to feed a mountain man or something like that, Grub feeding the mountain man or something like that. That's what... Those 2 bags, that's what they're for. But we can also use those for Renaissance Fair. But I have the recipe, I just have to go find it. And the recipes I've used actually haven't been from that cookbook, they've been from online. I don't know, I don't have much more to say, do you?
No.
So, we have the door open today. It's 58 right now, I think it's
supposed 58. To be almost 70, 69 I think is what they're forecasting.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. And the plants are outside, almost all the plants. I only think 1 or 2 plants are not outside. 2 that I can see from here.
Did the spider plants die?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They're kind of contrary though, aren't they?
Yeah, I needed to water them more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and see, okay, here's my thing with plants. I have a black thumb. But
sometimes I think you do.
Yeah, in high school, my senior year of high school, I did work study. And that's where they do troublemakers and special ed and people like that. They force you into work study. So I worked. I didn't really go to school. I mean, I went to class every other week for a couple of hours at night. And I worked in a nursery, a plant nursery, for that year. Actually, longer than the school year, because I started in the summer before the school year started. And I left the job after I graduated. And they're having a 30-year reunion, by the way. I saw it online. Somebody got an email for it. Like I can go. And then after that, I went to TSTI, which is now TSTC, Texas State Technical Institute, now Texas State Technical College in Waco, and I took horticulture. In college.
You got a green thumb?
In college, for my biology requirement, my science requirement, I took Botany 1.
Oh gosh.
So I have a black thumb yet.
You don't talk to your plants. That's what the problem is.
Yeah. Yeah,
You have to play them opera music and talk to them.
Yeah, I've worked in and studied horticulture. Yeah, and on my mother's side, at least since her family arrived in Virginia in 1632, they've been farmers up until my granddad. And then what I call my step-granddad, who was in Hempstead, Texas, he was a farmer also. Actually, my elementary school principal, Mrs. Hunt, her parents I refer to as my grandparents. Interesting thing. Her parents, like my mother's parents, were very similar. Both the men were farmers. Both the women were Sunday school teachers and elementary school teachers. Go figure.
Kind of odd, isn't it?
Yeah. So, But definitely in two different parts of the United States. North Carolina, rural North Carolina, and rural Texas. Both were very rural, where your closest neighbor is
10 miles away.
Yeah.
No, not quite that, but
so
seems like it.
Yeah. And now I don't think they have gators up in North Carolina, but my step-grandparents, they had gators. They had 2 gators that lived out in the pond. And I went down there I went with grandmother to go fishing. They had a little pier about 5-10 feet long. And we're sitting down there fishing, and I said, "Grandma, can I go swimming?" I was a country boy. I mean, there's water. I was a kid. What do you expect? I mean, I was going to pull my clothes off except for my underwear and jump in.
You're going to feed the gators.
Yeah. And Grandma said, "No." And I was like, "Ooh, gosh, what did I say? It got her so upset. What did I say wrong?" And she said, "You ask Mrs. Hunt when she comes down." So, a while later, Mrs. Hunt comes down, and I said, "Mrs. Hunt, Grandma said I had to ask you, can I go swimming?" And she said, "No." She said, "I used to let my boys go swimming, till one day," and she points over to these gators, these 2 big gators. I was like, "Oh." And I pulled my feet up, because I had my feet hanging off the side of the pier. And I didn't do that again. And they had horses. We used to go horseback riding quite a bit. And we'd go across the pond. Not the pond, it was like a creek that fed in, that made a natural pond. And every time we would cross that creek, I'd be looking down waiting for them gators to come up and get me. And thankfully, of course, they never did. They just basked. Actually, they weren't even in the sun. They were in the shade underneath the trees over by the pond. But anyway, so this video.
They just kind of lived in there, huh?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
You think they would be out
eating the fish, or out in the sun, or
or out somewhere away from there?
Yeah. I guess people didn't. Oh, once they had 2 houses. One was my grandparents' house. From the outside, it looked kind of like a shack. It didn't look great, but inside it was a very nice house. And then Mr. Hunt and Mrs. Hunt built a new house, a brick house. And in the backyard, they put in a swimming pool. And they had one of those black cast iron fences around it. Well, one day, one of them gators gets into that swimming pool.
Oh, God.
He's just on the bottom there.
What's the fence around it even?
Well, I think they crawled under it because, there's a space.
Oh.
Yeah. And this couldn't have been one of them gators that was out there, because those were big gators. And
too big to fit.
Yeah. Maybe it was another gator and he got chased off by the 2 big ones. But they didn't use that pool. It was usually mucky looking, But anyway, I gotta go in there and look at the bread, even though I know it's not time yet, but I still like to check on it. So I guess that's all. You'll have a great day. Bye bye. Oh, if you can help us in any way, figuring out ways we can prep. We need food, water, ammo, gas. We need a 12 gauge shotgun. We need a 22 rifle, preferably semi-auto, and the 12 gauge either pump or semi-auto.
We just need to win the lottery.
Yeah.
Put it basically.
We need to take the sword up there and sharpen the blade. It's for actual sport fighting, so it's not a sharp blade, but believe me, if you got hit with it, it would still do some damage. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. So I mean, it's for Renaissance Fair. Anyway, so we need a 22, preferably semi-auto. We need either a 30-06 or a 380, a 308. 308 bolt action with scope. I'd actually like to get optics for this Mosin, because it would be a good sniper rifle. And we need to get some. We definitely need ammo. We need 223 ammo, Mosin ammo, 40 ammo, and I think 32 ammo because we have the adapter for the Mosin.
See, we don't need ammo, do we?
Oh, that reminds me, I need to go check the company that we bought is a lower for the AR from. I need to see what's going on with that company because they're like way backlogged. And maybe I'll provide you a link to that company as well. Anyway, have a good day. Bye-bye.